My name is Kristen Miller, and I'll be telling a story about an event that occurred on one of my preceptor shifts. And what I hope this story accomplishes is just to serve as a reminder that nurses really have to always expect the unexpected and be able to think rationally and always act with compassion. Just to give a little background, we have had a patient for a couple of weeks who only speaks Russian, and he does have cancer, but his daughter is there to support and help us care for him, and she also translates. Now, the daughter is under extreme duress. She has been through a lot. Her father, who's the patient, has cancer. Her husband recently had a procedure, and she recently lost her son to suicide. So emotionally and mentally, she is very drained. The patient usually goes to the cancer center by ambulance every day and comes back, and we continue care as normal, and she goes with him. This particular day, my preceptor, who happens to be the charge nurse, and myself were sitting at the nurse's station charting, and they were coming back per usual, and all of a sudden we just hear screaming, bloody murder, screaming, wailing, crying. So naturally, me, my preceptor, and all the nurses around jump up to go see what's going on. We're thinking it's the patient. The patient fell off the stretcher. The patient crashed in the middle of the hallway. When we all get up to look, the patient is just fine, and the daughter is screaming, clutching her head. And so we survey the scene, and we see a big wooden mop handle on the floor, and the paramedics tell us they were pushing the patient down the hallway, and they must have bumped into the custodial cart and knocked the mop handle over, and the daughter just so happened to be right there, and it hit her in the head. So the daughter is standing there clutching her head, screaming, crying, and everyone's just stunned. But my preceptor, she jumps into action. She goes to assess the daughter, looking at her head, asking her questions, just making sure she's all right. And the daughter is hysterical, but my preceptor is just very calm, and she takes her to the room, and she calls the patient care manager and the supervisor, and they all handle it. What impact do I feel like this has on me as a student transitioning into practice? Self-reflection, because in that moment I did think to myself, if I were in my preceptor's shoes, what would I have done just then? How would I reacted? Would I have reacted that quickly? And I just feel like self-reflection is very important, so I can analyze my feelings, my inner thoughts, so that if and when something like this were to happen to me in the future and I were the one responsible for responding, I will be more prepared and understand myself and how I would just think in that moment. Just self-reflection. It really elevated my level of respect for leaders and managers, because my preceptor and manager and supervisor, they just handled the situation with so much grace. They were very calm. The process was seamless. They worked together very well. They filled out incident reports. They were just a really good team, and they took initiative. And I feel like I can use that in my future practice. Just never be afraid to take initiative, because if no one takes initiative, then how will you handle the situation? So that's what that taught me. I feel like the relevance of storytelling in nursing is more like an intimate learning opportunity, because when it's one thing to like read about these experiences and like hear about them from somewhere, when you have someone like closer to you and more personal able to tell you a story, you have the opportunity to like ask them questions. How did they feel in that moment? Well, what happened here? What did they do? And it really helps you, like I said earlier, self-reflect and put yourself in that situation, and get tidbits and tips from them, so that if something like that were to happen to you, you know how you would react, or like have an idea of what to do. And I just feel like it's another way of learning that's more personal.